I thought I'd seen every kind of HOA nonsense. The petty fines, the fake smiles. The warning letters slipped into mailboxes like threats. But nothing prepared me for the day. I watched a convoy of cement. Trucks rumble across my private bridge, the bridge I built. The one that led to my home, my peace. The wood groaned. The cables strained, and by the time I got outside, the damage was already done. They called it routine access. I called it trespassing. That day, something inside me snapped, and I decided, if they wanted to play dirty, I'd play smarter. Because sometimes revenge isn't loud. Sometimes it's engineered. When I first bought the property, it wasn't much but a modest house tucked deep off a back road, just over a narrow creek. But to me, it was paradise, quiet, green, and far enough from the city that I could finally hear my thoughts. Again, the old bridge. Out front was more than just a crossing. It was a boundary. A small wooden structure reinforced with steel, built decades ago by the original owner. It swayed a little when trucks passed, but I maintained it like it was sacred. Beyond it stretched my acres of land, a place where I raised chickens, fixed up old tools, and built the kind of life people dream about when they say off-grid. Then, of course, came the HOA. Technically, my property wasn't even part of their jurisdiction when I moved in. But over time, as they expanded their community boundaries, they annexed the road leading to my driveway, and that gave them just enough legal gray area to start poking around at first. It was small things, letters, about my non-standard fencing or that my mailbox was unapproved in. Color, it was laughable. I ignored most of it, but then they started bringing in construction. The board president, a woman everyone called Karen for a reason, announced that the HOA was improving infrastructure, and those improvements meant heavy machinery, trucks, cement mixers, all of them rolling over my bridge. Uninvited. The first time I saw it happen, I ran outside waving my hands, shouting for them to stop, but they just shrugged, said it was authorized. That night, I stood by the window for hours, staring at that bridge under the moonlight, wondering how long before it collapsed. Something told me this wasn't about construction. It was about control. And Karen? She'd just crossed the wrong bridge to cross. The next few weeks were a blur of noise and frustration. Every morning, I'd wake to the grinding of engines and the low hum of diesel. More trucks, more cement, more cracks are forming in the bridge planks. I filed complaints. I sent letters, emails, photos, every kind of documentation you can imagine. Each time, the HOA replied with the same empty line. All activity is within community improvement rights. Community improvement, that's what they called it when they tore through private property like a war zone. Then came the inspection. Karen herself showed up, clipboard in hand, pretending to assess safety. She wore that smug smile, the kind that said she already knew she'd win. Your bridge doesn't meet HOA load standards. She said, if it collapses, you'll be liable for the damage they caused. I realized right then, I wasn't dealing with incompetence. I was dealing with malice. They wanted me gone. To them, I was a stain, the stubborn homeowner who refused to bend to their little empire of rules. But every tyrant makes the same mistake. They think power is permanent. That night, I walked the length of my bridge, flashlight in hand. I could see the scars, the warped boards, the split bolts, but under it, hidden by shadow and water, I saw opportunity. I started planning. I studied the weight limits, the angles, and the reinforcements. I filed quiet reports to the county, detailing unauthorized use and damage. I installed trail cameras under the railing, small enough no one would notice, and I waited for weeks. Nothing. Then one morning, the sound again, engines, gears, voices shouting. They were back. This time, 3 trucks, Karen in front, standing proudly like a general leading her troops. I stood on my porch, coffee in hand, and smiled, because this time, every camera was rolling, every permit violation, every trespass, every reckless crossing, captured in full color. I didn't stop them. I let the trucks roll. I let the wood moan and creak, and when the bridge bowed under the final load, I could almost hear justice whispering through the cables. It was coming. Not fast, but soon. 2 weeks later, the county inspector showed up, not because of me, but because of a complaint from the HOA. Apparently, Karen had reported me for unsafe property structures. I met the inspector at the end of the driveway. He looked at the bridge, then at the folder in his hand. After a few minutes of silence, he turned to me and said, "Sir, you're not the one in violation here." Turns out, the HOA had overstepped badly. Their construction project had no county approval, no weight permits, and no liability insurance for private crossings. The inspector asked if I had any evidence. So I showed him every photo, every video, every date-stamped clip of Karen's trucks destroying my property. He didn't say much, just nodded slowly and told me I'd done the right thing. A week later, I got a letter from the county that HOA's entire project was being shut down pending investigation. And as for the bridge, they were now financially responsible for all damages and subject to fines for unauthorized industrial activity. Karen tried to fight it. Of course, she even called me. The first time she'd ever used my name without sneering, her voice trembled as she demanded to know how I'd set her up, but I didn't. I just stopped letting her win. The trucks never came back. The road went silent again, except for the creek and the wind. For the first time in months, the air felt cleaned out. A few weeks later, I got a knock on the door, a certified letter. Karen had resigned. The HOA board was restructuring under new management. I didn't celebrate. I just walked out to the bridge and stood there. For a long time, the repairs had been made, paid in full by the HOA. Stronger beams, new cables, reinforced foundation. It looked better than ever, but it wasn't the wood or steel that mattered. It was what it represented: boundaries, ownership, the right to peace. People think revenge is about destruction, but sometimes it's about restoration. It's about taking back what was yours, not by shouting, not by fighting, but by standing still until the truth catches up. Months passed. The neighborhood calmed down. A few of the quieter residents started waving again. Point one even apologized, said Karen had pushed too far, too fast. I didn't hold a grudge, but I never forgot, because in the end, it wasn't about Karen or her trucks or her rules. It was about control and how easily people will abuse it when they think no one's watching. That bridge taught me something. If you want peace, build it strong. If you want justice, document everything. And if you ever find yourself staring down an HOA bully, don't yell, don't panic, and don't quit. Just set the right trap and wait, because sooner or later, they always drive themselves right into it.